That's sort of a bold statement. Coming out today after the invocation, please remain standing for the pledges.
Shall we bow? Almighty God, our Creator and our Sustainer, we come before you today to give you honor and praise, for you are worthy of our praise. You are our light in dark pathways, our fortress in times of trouble, our strength when we've been weakened, our source of all that is good, bountiful blessings, and every need met. We thank you for this opportunity to gather together this day. We ask for your guiding hand of blessing to direct our leaders throughout this meeting. We ask that each task and undertaking will be approached with the abundance of wisdom only you can bestow on us. We thank you in advance that each objective is met and every goal accomplished today. May our conduct create an environment of unity, cooperation, and support as we are renewed by your presence in this building. We ask these things in your powerful name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Pastor. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have only one announcement as it relates to the agenda this morning. That is under the Transportation Services section. It will be item 9L1. This is the ILA with the City of Fort Worth as it relates to Trail Drive. We're going to hold that for 1 week. The City of Fort Worth is considering that today at their council meeting, and we will be bringing that back for your consideration next Tuesday. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of May the 9th.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Fickus. Motion passes unanimously. We have some proclamations and presentation certificates this morning. Commissioner Wynn.
Yes, sir, Your Honor and fellow commissioners. This morning, once again, we have the pleasure of welcoming 3 young men and women from Kennedale ISD who have exhibited great excellence and hard work in their academic career so far. And we want to recognize them this morning. To basically accompany them this morning, we have Miss Missy Glenn, the Deputy Superintendent of Kennedale ISD. Would you please stand? We also have Ms. Erin Johnson, the Public Relations Officer. We have Ms. Belle Williams, the Assistant Principal. We have Ms. Kelly Hollick, Counselor. Thank you for coming. And students, as I call your name, would you please stand? And then after I finish, please come forward and we will present the certificate of recognition to you, and then we'll have an opportunity to take a picture with members of the Commissioner's Court. Okay? First, I'd like to recognize Leanne Blinn Doskosil, and she is the valedictorian. She will be attending Texas A&M University and majoring in meteorology. with a minor in Spanish. She was named 2 times to the All-State Choir. She is the UIL Solo Superior Rating at state, the choir president, and the regional qualifier for UIL academics in science. She's also a member of the Spanish National Honor Society. Congratulations. We also have the salutatorian Carson Ham. He will be attending UT Austin and studying computer science. He also is a state qualifier in UIL computer science, a member of the Wildcat Band. You play the drum, right? And also the class president. Congratulations. And we also have the top scholar athlete, Alex Groff, with us. And he will be attending Texas A&M University, majoring in business and or education. He's a regional semi-finalist in basketball, all-state academics for basketball, a regional finalist for UIL current events, in which you have to stay up with all the current events in the world. And then there will be a panel of people asking you all these questions about what's going on around the world, right? Okay. And then you are also the member of the National Honor Society. Congratulations. Yes. Can we bring them up?
Yeah, why don't we...
Yeah, why don't y'all bring up here? Come up here. We'll take a picture with the court. This is County Judge Glenn Whitley, Commissioner Gary Fickes, and Commissioner J.D. Johnson.
All right, hold up them certificates. Okay.
Ms. Glenn, would you like to make a comment?
I would just like to say thank you, Judge Whitley and Commissioner Wynn and the Commissioner's Court for recognizing our top students. They've worked so hard this year, and all of us in Kennedale ISD are proud of them and their parents. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for being here. And also, Your Honor, the Arlington Chamber of Commerce, heeding the call of the Arlington ISD, decided to participate in an internship program with the purpose of helping our young students get ready for the workforce. The Arlington members of the Arlington Chamber of Commerce responded by providing several hundred internship slots in the calendar year of 2017. And my office was honored to receive 2 young ladies, very bright, very enthusiastic, and they have been working along with members of the Precinct 2 office for the past few months, almost a year now. And basically, the internship is coming to an end, and we would like to take this opportunity to recognize them for their contribution. I'd like to introduce to you Serene Nadaf. She is a senior at James Martin High School. She is the president of the Martin Junior World Affair Council, vice president of the Muslim Student Association, recipient of the Global Leadership Certificate, and qualified for the Council 20 Under 20 program. Serene is involved in the National Honor Society, the Key Club, Future Business Leaders of America, Young Americans for Political Awareness, and Gibraltar Institute for Leadership Development. This summer, she is visiting Jordan and hopes to attain an internship with an aid organization. Ms. Nadav plans to attend the University of Texas at Arlington with a major in international business. She aspires to pursue a career in the field of human rights and social justice. Recently, she was selected to be one of the top 10 most intriguing students at Martin High School. Please come on up. The second young lady is Evan O'Dwyer. She is currently a senior at Arlington High School. Evan is the president of the Earth Club, co-founder and president of the Ethical Eaters Club. I didn't know you have to eat ethically. Okay.
Certainly.
And historian of Business Professionals of America, along with interning for the Commissioner's Office, which is Precinct 2. She is also a cheer coach for the Arlington Cheer Association of Arlington. She received first place in prepared speech and administrative support team at the state competition for BPA and is going to nationals in May. She is planning to attend the University of North Texas in the fall to study economics. After gaining her bachelor's degree, she plans to go to law school to study either constitutional or environmental law. Evan hopes to one day become a state senator and then a senator of the United States of America. Big goal. So come on up, Evan. I dare you, double dare you.
I'm really thankful to have the internship opportunity with Commissioner Wynn. Everyone is really impressed when I get to say that I work for the Commissioner's office, and I just feel really blessed and lucky that they've been so accepting, and I feel like I've learned a lot throughout the year. So thank you.
Thank you.
And throughout the year, it's been an incredible learning experience, and I'm not going to lie, at the very beginning, I think both of us were really interested in federal government, and we were always on top of that, and we kind of overlooked local government, just didn't know how to get involved. And after this internship, I think we learned a lot more about how local government just affects us and affects the community a lot more than what goes on federally, and at the end, it always does fall to the local government.
Don't you love
so
it?
that's
That's right.
I'd like to take you to Austin and Minnesota. Commissioner Wynn, would you like to move that we receive and
Yes,
file
sir.
both
I
of
move
those?
to receive and file.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to receive and file both the certificates of recognition and appreciation. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We'll have Vinny come on up, and he is going to recognize our Teen Video Fest 2017 winners.
Good morning, Your Honor, and members of the court.
Good morning, Benny.
So if you all recall, back in 1999, Tarrant County Public Health started the Teen Video Fest, and it was a method to engage our young adults in getting involved in messaging around health issues to their peers. Now, when bad things happen, we always blame it. There's peer pressure. That's why people are doing these bad things as a group. Well, public health figured out that if we use that avenue as messaging for health, we can, create positive change. People tend to listen to their peers. I mean, that happens with adults, that happens with seniors, that happens with teenagers. So that's sort of the mindset. And it got recognized as a national model practice by NACCHO. And we continued on with it for almost a decade, and then eventually it sort of phased off. And then technology rapidly changed. So back when we were doing it then, it was all VHS videotapes, lots of effort in getting those in and trying to review and judge those participants and their submissions. But then we realized, hey, technology has now made things a lot easier, and a lot of these young folks are very tech savvy. They can take an iPhone or an Android phone and shoot a very high quality video, edit it on the fly, and deliver a very quick message on social media. So in 2017, we've reinvigorated the Teen Video Fest. With that platform in mind, this is where most of our teen population is consuming the information, using social media, and we have invited them to participate in that Teen Video Fest, creating through mobile means and distributing the message through a mobile platform. So at this time, we'd like to show you a video from our grand prize winner, and the topic was Don't Believe the Myth. It was related to e-cigarettes or vaping, and we'd like to show you that video if we can get that up on the screen.
I'm not sure what you said.
Would you like to repeat that for
Good one.
E-cigs, or vapes, are falsely believed to be less harmful than cigarettes. The FDA started regulating them in 2016, and they're still not approved to be a way to quit smoking. But one thing is certain, they're not hard to find. Stores selling them, called vape shops, are everywhere across the country. If you're addicted to e-cigs, just reduce the amount of nicotine in the vape juice weekly until you can quit. Don't believe the myth. E-cigs aren't a safe alternative to smoking cigarettes. You can be happy without it. There are plenty of other things to do with your time. Don't believe the myth.
And what is interesting is that a simple and clear message like that can really change somebody's life course. If they haven't picked up or just about to try e-cigarettes and they listen to this kind of a message from a peer and decide against it, it can really change their health outcomes for their entire life. We know nicotine is a gateway drug to many other things, and we want to make sure that the young adults are not falling into that habit and staying healthy and making healthy choices. So with that, I'd like to bring on Andrew Lutz, who you saw in the video, and his teammate, I think is here, Brody Doherty. If you both y'all could come up, I'd like to give you your certificate. And thank you for the great video and the hard work that you guys put in. If you could stick around and maybe start forming up here, because we're going to bring the rest of the participants on. And I'd like to quickly call upon another participant in this category, Trey Jones from Cannondale High School. These guys were from Azle High School. And Trey Jones, if you're here, if you would come up. Thank you for coming, and please join them. There were three submissions in the e-cigarette vaping category, and the two of them you're seeing here, one couldn't make it. And then in the next category, teen suicide category, we have Chantel Celeste from Young Women's Leadership Academy. Another video in the teen suicide category, Words, by Marianne Collins from Nolan Catholic High School and her teammates. If y'all could join us here. Obesity category, there were two participants, Trey Jones from Kennedale High School, and then Jackson Jones from Kennedale Junior High. Is Jackson here? And last but not the least, sexually transmitted diseases. Now, this particular video, it didn't get the grand prize, but I'm telling you, it was the funniest of all of them. They did a tremendous job, this team. 80s theme was used in that STD category. Isabel Villafain from Buinger CTE Academy in HEB ISD and her teammates. I think there's a whole bunch of them. Y'all did an awesome job, so please join us here. Thank you. So with that, we'd like to take a few pictures, and if I could indulge the commissioners to stand up so we can get your picture in there as well. Thank you.
I'm gonna come on around here.
You might want to kind of get into the bunch here so we can get you all in one go.
He's talking to the news.
Yeah, come on in.
Cameras.
Can't see you, we can't get your picture. What are the glasses?
Vertically challenged. Stay there until all them cameras quit flashing. She always takes them in threes. She's safe.
Thank you, court members, for indulging us. And just one last announcement. We'll see you guys downstairs in 403 here in a minute for the final presentations. Thank you.
Okay, I will move that we receive and file the recognition of the Team Video Fest.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Please note that Commissioner Wynn is not present for this particular part of the agenda. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda,
Move approval.
Second.
but he is available for this. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We today have a public hearing, I believe, Mr. Maine?
Yes,
Come on down. You started, but they'll be gone.
Good morning. My name is Wayne Pollard. I'm the director of the Tarrant County Housing Assistance Office. Tarrant County Housing serves nearly 3,000 families monthly on the Housing Choice Voucher Program, also known as Section 8. We have over 725 private landlords that provide rental units. For the 9th consecutive year, we have been rated as high performers by HUD. We continue to receive about 115 calls a month from Tarrant County citizens asking for housing assistance. We opened our waitlist, Section 8 waitlist, for the first time in 7 years this past March. The list was open for 2.5 days, and we received 14,907 applications. We continue to have a preference on our wait list for the elderly, disabled, homeless veterans, and families involved with child protective services, which includes youth aging out of foster care. Okay. We plan to project a base of 75 vouchers to local landlords to provide assistance to disabled families in the Tarrant County area. Our office continues to have a very strong family self-sufficiency program. Last October, we graduated 32 families from the program. 2 of the families members earned bachelor's degrees, 1 earned a master's, and 1 opened up a daycare during the time on our program. Our biggest challenge, besides the uncertainty of the federal budget, is the limited number of affordable housing in the Tarrant County area. The rental vacancy rate is around 4%. We continue to face higher rental costs, and some multifamily units are no longer accepted in Section 8. They feel they can get a better deal from the open market. Due to the limited number of affordable units in Tarrant County, our voucher holders are having more of a difficult time to find units. Right now, it's taking them about 78 days to find a unit. 2 years ago, it was 45. This is a major issue across the country, but it's really high in the North Texas area. At this time, I'm not seeking any court action, just like to have a public hearing.
Thank you. At this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody here wishing to speak to this matter. There appear to being none, then I will close the public hearing and we'll take further action at some future date.
When are you going to bring this back to court?
I believe it's in 2 weeks. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Manion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one item yet for the court's consideration this morning. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the TechShare Court Phase 2 implementation agreement between Tarrant County and the Council of Urban Counties. Just a note, you notice that the price on that is, the implementation is approximately $4.5 million. About $1.2 million of that is contingency, implementation contingency, and that money, those monies will not be expended without prior approval of the representative from our stakeholder committee.
I move for its approval with one comment.
Okay, I'll second.
As we move forward with further development of justice software, I would like, if it's okay with the court, I would like to be involved in the process from day one. I would like, if at all possible, and if it pleases the court, I think we need to provide the court with a full update about the cost benefit of development of new software or versus buying off-the-shelf software. I think there are some key strategic benefits in the development of new software and so forth. But we need to take it one case by case scenario. So if it's at all possible, if I can be included in the process, and if you can keep this court informed about that process, that would be very helpful.
We will, Commissioner. In fact, we'll schedule a work session with the court probably in late June, early July, to talk about TechShare, so that you all as a whole are fully informed on it. And Commissioner Nguyen will make sure that you're notified on every action that we're taking and get you involved at the very beginning of this.
Right. I'd like to see the total cost of the product. We have a cost of development, and then we have the cost of implementation. There are two portions regarding implementation. The cost that is reserved for the CUC team, the TechShare team, and there is a cost that we have to use to backfill our IT department. So what you see in this document is not the full cost. It's only the CUC portion, the TechShare portion.
Right.
There's another cost that we need to fulfill the backfilling of the IT positions, right?
Absolutely.
That's my understanding. I have a meeting with you, and you explained that to me.
And quite frankly, you all see that during the budget process because that's embedded within the IT budget. But we'll be more than happy to pull that out to make sure everyone can see that. And we'll make sure that as we go through these processes that we fully inform you, Commissioner, and also obviously the rest of the members of the Commissioners Court.
And I would just say, Andy, that as we've gone through this thing, every time we've looked into a new program, it has been one that we always look to see whether there was something on the shelf. And the biggest problem that we've had in a lot of these programs is that no vendor would be willing to share source codes with us and wanted to hold us at their mercy as we make changes or as changes by the users of the program want to make those changes. So, I mean, this has been an ongoing thing. We started with JCMS, which the state looked at, bought into, and became a partner with us in the deal. And we moved it forward to the other court programs. You're right, implementation is a big part of the deal. Just as we did with our SAP, I think the software cost of our SAP was somewhere in the $4 or $5 million range, but we spent another $14 million on just implementing and doing that. And I know there is a lot of cost also associated with our staff learning how to use it. I know that with the court system and the prosecutor system, that was something that we, spent time in training the staff. But we also involved the staff in getting their input in how to develop the program, which none of your software shelf products would have fulfilled that part of the deal.
So we'll bring this all to court and we'll have a conversation about it.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Snyder.
Oh,
Surprise.
By the way, Your Honor, as Ms. Snyder comes forward, this is actually the exact day of her 40th year here with the county.
I can remember walking through the door of the courthouse. First office
appreciate
was
everything
the-
you do.
First office was the second floor of the old courthouse and auditor's office. So,
40 years.
Risk Management Board is recommending the payment of many claims today, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. The information is listed on your court communication.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Glenn.
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I had to get my walks in.
There you go. Get a few steps in there. Mr. Beecham.
Your Honor, other members of the court, we have one item for your consideration this morning. That is a bid award recommendation for bid 2017-089, our annual contract for the purchase of motor graders. Recommendation will be toward on a per enterprise basis, selecting as our primary vendors RDO Equipment and Kirby Smith Machinery.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Beecham.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any kind of informal report to give us on the toilet paper issue?
I'm thinking 40 years ago, we were probably a one-ply county, is what I'm thinking, but now we're two-ply. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Brooks, I believe, has an interlocal agreement. Has that been looked at by the attorneys?
Yes, Judge. Move approval of interlocal
Second.
for precinct 1.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Fickus?
Yes, I have a local agreement with the City of South Lake. Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Are there any appointments today? Then you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Second. I move for approval. I thought you said, sorry.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have 3 items for your consideration today. The first one is the 2006 CIP dealing with the juvenile center. Ms. Pelly is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tracy.
This morning's presentation is a briefing on the 2006 Capital Improvement Program for the Juvenile Center. Last year, the Commissioners Court engaged the HDR architectural team to help with programming and conceptual preliminary design for the project. The construction manager, Steele and Freeman and Postel Group, was also engaged to help with pre-construction services for the project. The project kicked off in August 2016, followed by numerous meetings with the user groups to help formalize the space programs and conceptual plans. Today, we're going to be providing an overview of the project, the total capital budget, add alternates, conceptual drawings, and next steps. The proposed base project consists of a new courts building, a new detention housing, and site improvements. The courts building is 53,363 square feet, a single-level building. It contains 1 district court suite, 3 associate court suites, plus there's a shell space for a future district court if required. The criminal district attorney, juvenile division, district clerk, juvenile division, juvenile services court clerk, juvenile services court intake, and secured surface parking. The detention housing consists of 2 units with 2 pods of 16 beds each for a total of 64 new beds for a total square feet of 19,360. This next slide shows a comparison of the current versus the proposed net square footage for some of the major departments. In essence, most departments have outgrown their existing space. The proposed square footage reflects each department's current needs, which incorporates Tarrant County Facilities Management's office standards. The total capital budget for the project is $37,136,380. Of special note, under the special equipment, we are including $150,000 for some kitchen equipment replacement. This equipment is approximately 20 years old. We are also including $900,000 for replacement of the existing HVAC rooftop units. Their ages range from 20 to 30 years. The total capital budget is derived from the 2006 Juvenile Center CIP funds of $36,320,000 plus interest earnings of $816,380. Add alternates to be included to the project consist of the detention area for 3 classrooms and common multipurpose room, victims assistance, the CPS unit for the criminal district attorney, an additional classroom for the detention area, clear stories at the day rooms of both housing units in the detention, 2-inch asphalt overlay existing paving, and a maintenance building for facilities management.
So on that, let me ask, the square footage that these alternates represent, they're not in those numbers you were showing us a few minutes ago?
No.
So this would add square footage as well?
Yes.
It would add to additional footprint of it?
It would, yes. Okay. Yeah. Any questions so far? If not, I'd like to introduce Halden Talley with HDR Architects.
Good morning, Judge Whitley, Commissioners.
Good morning.
First of all, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to perform this work with the county. We've truly enjoyed working with the juvenile services, the programs, detention, and court staff, working with facilities in developing this program. Just to go back, as we interviewed for the project and met with you, last fall, one of the things we identified was one of the big issues there was the flow of activities on the campus, something that we needed to solve. As we got into the program, we realized in talking to the departments, there's really a lot of very positive things in terms of the way that they are working together out there, very positive synergies in terms of how those programs relate together and work on a day-to-day basis. And we certainly wanted to make sure that we maintain that in the solutions as it went forward. We worked with Steele Freeman Facilities as we went through this program. There's a lot of needs at the campus. I think it was important that we developed a program that worked with them and help prioritize those needs, give a program that gives you the most possible with the available budget, with the ability to add to it going forward. So we feel like we've got a plan that you can carry forward with confidence. And I'm going to turn it over to the rest of our team now with Walter Ridley and Tom Mccarty.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I am the HDR program consultant on the project for your Justice Center. And one of the things I want to emphasize is that this design and this structure ensures that you continue to do the good work that you've been doing thus far. One of the common goals that we've decided that you need is a facility that will benefit the judges, staff, youth, families, and community and will be modeled globally with alternatives to incarceration being engaged. The second will be conducive to an environment that produces positive youth development while maintaining the safety and security of the court staff, youth, families, the community, and all involved. The new facility will have pods which are conducive to youth growth and development with the building of 64 beds, but it is imperative that you also have adequate space to move programming forward successfully, and this means 3 additional classrooms and a common multi-purpose room in the detention area. Where the need for secure beds decreases and treatment increases, with programs designed to assist youth with getting back on track and less likely to commit another offense. Another goal is that this facility will serve youth closer to home, a facility that is equipped inside and out with a full continuum in place to assist youth from their initial contact to diversion, housing, and release to the community by addressing their needs inclusive of mental health and trauma. Research has shown that most of the young people that we find in our system today are suffering from mental health issues and traumatic experiences. Where the continuum of juvenile justice service is built on positive youth development and that provides programming that supports a decrease in the cycle of deviant behavior and continued delinquency, ultimately decreasing the chances of a juvenile journey that will lead to adult criminalization. It is our goal to deliver a quality, secure, sustainable, and operational functional and juvenile center, and Tarrant County deserves nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm Tom Mccarty with LBL, and we led the design team on analyzing the existing building and infrastructure with other local engineers that were very familiar with the county's expectations and in delivering a good product for the constituents. And we looked at the structural integrity throughout the facility, mechanical, electrical systems, and overall energy efficiency. Fire and life safety were also critical aspects of the building that we looked into. Of the nearly 100,000 square foot building, 50,000 square foot of this is 30 years or older. And usually buildings of that age start to show replacement needs. And some of those things we've already identified within the costs that are needed. But some of those are also alternates that have been identified. And so we do recommend that there's aspects about the existing facility that need to be replaced. And those have all been provided to the facility staff. The eastern portion of the facility is essentially the detention space, and that was less than 20 years old, and a lot of those systems are still in good condition, but still need some upgrades as time moves forward. And the expansion process that Mark will talk to you about a little bit kind of helps to tie into those things. One of the other things that we looked at within the building was just circulation and service points. And one of our key aspects throughout the entire design was really, public, private, staff entry. What are these circulation patterns? And we think that the solution that's going to be presented really solves a lot of issues that have just developed over this building's life. It's been added to, about every 10 years, and just when you add a little bit here, what you end up with later is really not the best solution. So I think we're going to bring you something that you're going to be excited about.
Good morning, Judge Whitley and Commissioners. My name is Paul Shasta. I'm the project manager, but for this phase, I was also the programmer. Early on in the project, we identified that you had not only a good synergy and operational working relationships, but also that the facility was compressed and greatly, as you saw in the numbers earlier, greatly compressed so that organizational flow wasn't maintained. We found it important that we get really deep into the project. Instead of just approaching the user agencies that were identified in the project, we treated it as a full master plan. So we went and programmed and met every user group, every agency, every part of the facilities and part of the juvenile support. In that regard, we ended up drilling down to a smaller project, but we have identified all your future growth needs. And the design that Mark's going to show you in a minute really reflects long-term growth and planning for the project. As said earlier, the facility had kind of grown and lost control of some of the growth over time because you grow so fast in Tarrant County. But as a result of what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you future results so that it can grow as you need it to support your growth in the Tarrant County. I'm going to introduce Mark Ryan. He's the project principal, the designer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Mark Ryan. I'm the conceptual design lead for the project. Happy to be back with you again. So the diagram on the screen you've seen once before. And in the early stages, along with the county staff, the judges, detention personnel, we looked at the existing facility, but also how to distribute new functions, how to work with the existing, paying close attention to travel distances and adjacencies and things like that. While we're thinking about the overall organization of the site, we were also thinking about the expression of the project itself. Thinking about the civic and the community aspects, the public expression of the building, the importance of the judiciary, and in many ways, an expression of how the county views and values their kids. So the ideas were in many ways to honor the historic and traditional typology and things like a ceremonial approach or a colonnade and portico entry, the sense of symmetry, while at the same time putting it in a contemporary context and looking forward. So this site plan here shows the existing on the left and the proposed new additions to the right. Strategically locating these new functions to the east, connecting with the existing circulation system, thinking about consolidation, about function, about also things like a minimum of disruption happening during construction in terms of the existing operations, realizing that this place needs to remain completely and fully operational while any additions or expansions are going on. We did, if you notice there on the right-hand side where it says new court, it's the most public functions that are expressed towards the street, towards the public side. This is just a zoomed-in view of that new area itself, making sure to have appropriate separation of staff and public parking areas, staff, public, judges, entries, and making sure that there is a distinction between the secure and the non-secure. So this is the court's component itself in terms of a conceptual layout, again, organizing the most public functions towards the street, towards the south, which is the bottom of the screen, the controlled or the semi-public functions in the middle, and then the secure, most secure functions to the north, or the top side of the screen. Again, separate entries for public, for staff and judges, for juveniles, and then the green there towards the bottom of the screen is the public lobby space. So all necessary public access functions connecting to that lobby. So the courts, the chaplain, the juvenile clerk, juvenile court intake, the district clerk, district attorney, police functions, public waiting and vending, all in that public area adjacent to the lobby. I zoom in on one of the housing units, in many ways wanting to extend a relationship or a kinship with the existing housing units on the site while also making needed improvements, thinking about connections to the courts, but also food service, recreation, and other services. The classrooms and the multipurpose, which are the green elements on the left-hand side of the screen, are what Tracy had described are part of the ad alternates. And then this conceptual rendition, this is the initial approach from the southwest. The public face of the facility in the foreground, the initial view with then the parking, the public parking in the distance that includes a shaded walk and a shaded entryway. Expressing an appropriate civic presence, honoring the history and tradition of the building type, but also looking forward in many ways here to serve the community. Thank you. Turn it back over to Tracy.
Okay, our next steps. We'd like to get direction on allocation of space incorporated into the buildings, along with the add alternates. What is proposed? Is that acceptable?
You know, I guess the question that that I would ask is, from a standpoint of the 37 million is, our original budget was what, 36? Or what we originally planned on spending?
36.
320?
320, yes.
Yeah, 36.
So we've earned interest of 816, that brings us to the 37. The original, what was the original cost? So you've got all these add alternates. How does that all fit together as far as the original budget? And I realize when y'all did this, I knew we didn't plan on building it the first day out of the box. But we're 11 years into this project. How much inflation did you build into the original estimate of the 37 or 36 million?
Good morning. We included the 36,320,000 included a JJAP school building. It included 5 courtrooms that actually connected to the existing building to the west, and a couple of housing units. As we went through the process and over the years, it was found out that a separate court building was better. And we were going to stay out at the Lena Pope home, so we didn't need a school. So it's been 10 years, essentially, since the voters approved these bonds. We sold the last bonds 2 years ago, in August 2015. We didn't build in 10 years worth of escalation. We built in 2 or 3 years worth.
Okay, so if we're looking at, I'm assuming that as we have done with the family courts, as we've done with the civil courts, and as I heard someone say out here before, you brought all the user groups together. You have listed a group of alternates that I'm assuming they all agreed to as you've gone through that. So if we were to bring all the people up here today, if all the alternates were done with the original stuff that we're looking at right now, everybody'd be happy.
I believe so, Judge. I believe so.
And I guess I say that because that's saying there's about $5 million worth of alternates. But am I to assume that everything before those alternates can be done for the $37,136,000?
That's correct. The base project that Tracy Pelley outlined will be in the budget of the $37 million. When we move forward with design, the architects and engineers and Tracy will design the add alternates as separate pages in the bid sets. And we will bid those packages, Steel Freeman will. And when they bid the base project, we're going to come back to you with the base project cost, and it depends on when we bid, what time of year, and those kind of factors, what the marketplace is doing at that time, whether or not we can afford those add alternates. We will bid them each, and we'll come back to you with those options at that time. If we can afford them within the $37 million, we're going to recommend we do them.
Are these alternates in the order of its importance?
Yes, Commissioner, I believe they are.
Okay, so 1 means number 1. Yeah. Okay. And that priority has been agreed upon by the stakeholders?
We believe that's the correct priority. I don't know if we all just got in the room and decided that's the best priority. But also what's on there is the demolition of the existing 1970s wings. And how much money?
About $70,000.
$70,000. So we'll probably, as part of that first number 1, we'll probably add $70,000 to go ahead and demolish the existing wings that are giving us some problems now.
David, currently, we've got 1 district judge and how many alternate judges?
3 associate judges.
Right now?
Right. Now, as part of this, as Tracy explained, there is expansion space, or shell space, probably a better term, for a possible future district courtroom and suite, which is the courtroom and the associated offices. So that would be the next level many years from now. But the space would be there. It'd be contiguous, the hallways, and all the efficiencies that HDR talked about would be there.
What sort of technology are being installed in here? Are you looking at screens, videos, recording?
We contemplated the typical technology that we use today for our court systems. In our office, one of the people involved with the team is a guy named John Neeson, and he is HDR-specific court architect. But also we have a team within our office that looked at the low voltage and technology services. It'll be a fully automated court.
Okay.
You know, I look at the alternatives and I think, I mean, if you budgeted for 2 to 3 years worth of inflation and we're sitting now, before we get started, we'll be at least 11 or 12. But none of these alternatives were in the original plan. So this is what's occurred within the department, the additional needs that the department believes and the users believe need to be there today that didn't, or for whatever reason, they didn't feel like was needed 10 years or 11 years ago.
Well, things change, Judge, and when you...
Well, I do realize that.
Yes, sir. And we believe this is the right thing to do at this time. If we do it 10 years from now, it would be different. But our major focus was the courts, court safety of the families and the county staff. That was number one from the get-go. Number two is, of course, operational efficiencies within the court. Number three was detention. So we've met those needs. Now we're talking about, I think one of the things that criminal district attorneys would like to move staff from Ben Street, that we own a property there. They'd like to move them to this site for more efficiencies of their staff, which certainly makes sense. And we also lease space for our juvenile staff on Sylvania Street. We'd like to move them back in too. So we've had some growing pains, and we've had to go lease space, which we really don't like to do. So this would help bring them back home.
The facility management maintenance building, what is that for?
It's a 2,000 square foot building. Currently, we're working on a couple of 12 by 10 tough sheds where we manage 44 acres out there.
It works. Has been working.
It has been working. It has been working. We just like to maybe have a little bit of growth, maybe some place to put our
So you want to build a Taj
pits.
Mahal for your maintenance?
That's right. Maybe a little electricity and something like that in there.
2-inch asphalt.
I mean, from just the perspective of the fact that it has been 11 years, I'm surprised that we're still anywhere in the ballpark on the original 37 million, let alone.
Yeah, that's pretty.
It doesn't have, when we initially put the number together, Judge, back then, we had planned on doing some improvements to the existing structures, maybe doing something with the skin, because rather they're just painted tilt wall, and they're not the prettiest things in the world. They're not very inviting for families and things, so, but we're not touching those. We do have some brick and things around the new building. There's certainly no granite or anything like that. It's concrete, polished concrete is what it is. So they've done a good job as far as designing something that's very durable and low cost.
What your next step is that you're putting forth here today would be to go forward and bid out each one of these alternatives as a separate individual item and come back to us when we get those bids back in to determine which or how far we go.
David, you have not bid any of this yet, have you?
Judge, we're asking you to approve the needs assessment of space layouts as far as the space square footage of the buildings. And we're asking for approval of that today. If you'll do that, we'll move forward. That will set the architect's fee, basically is the next step. We haven't designed anything. What we typically do, we do it in stages because we've learned our lessons. We actually give them a budget to work to or not above, and we'll come back with an architectural contract here in a few weeks. At that point, they start the actual putting the pencil to the paper at that point. Then we come back to you, or Tracy will, with an update on where we're at, probably some nice renderings, an update on the budget, and things of that nature, and then we'll get your approval to go ahead and move forward with bidding the project.
So at this point in time, we really don't know whether the original stuff is going to come into that 37 million or not.
What we presented you today, we'll be able to build a 53,000 square foot courts building and 19,000 square feet of detention for the money we've told you. No question.
Okay.
and we will bid the ad alternates, the list that Tracy gave you. We will bid those at the same time, and if we can afford them, we'll just start picking them off the top and probably recommending to you that we move forward with those at that time.
I think every one of the proposals that we've put into that 2006 bond package we've completed and everybody's been very happy with. And I would want the same to be said for this juvenile when we get through with that too.
Yes, sir.
And realizing it's been so long since we originally approved that 2006 issue.
We are requesting approval of the space office program that's been presented today.
What's the average size of a courtroom, a district courtroom?
District court is about 2,000, 2,100 square feet. Could run up to 2,200. I don't know the exact square footage of these. 2,200 square feet. It's about the same size of what we built in civil.
So perhaps I'm misreading this, but here's the proposed square footage for the district court room is almost 19,000 square feet.
Total square footage.
That's for the entire, that's not just for one courtroom.
That's the office space, that's everything that goes
That's
along
everything,
with
okay.
all the support staff, everything.
Okay.
Suite goes all the things that go along with it.
Okay, gotcha.
I move approval of the recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, y'all.
Members of the court, we can now move to item B. This is a presentation regarding amendments to the Arlington TIF number 6. Ms. McMillan.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Back in December of 2007, the City of Arlington established the Viridian Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone. And then in 2010, the county...
Carry it outside.
In 2010, the county approved participation in the zone at a rate of 75% of our tax increment generated from the development to contribute up to a maximum of just over $79 million in the zone. The hospital district is also participating at 50% of its increment up to a maximum of about $45.7 million. As the Viridian development has moved forward, additional improvements in infrastructure needs have been identified. The developer has requested a 5-year extension to the original 30-year term of the zone and has asked for additional TERS-funded improvements such as wetlands restoration, cultural and historical facility improvements, erosion control, and additional utility, drainage, and roadway improvements to be included in the project funding plan. I'm going to ask now Bob Kimball, the developer, and representing Johnson Development Corporation, and then Bruce Payne from City of Arlington Economic Development is also here. And Bob is going to go over some of the changes that are being requested in the amended project and financing plan.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Good to be here. It's probably been 8 years since we looked at the TERS.
Is it a different precinct?
It's come a long way. The good news is that the project is working. We crossed the $400 million in AV growth. We had a recession in 2008, so we got a little bit of a slow start. That's part of it. We've seen about a 48% increase in publicly bid infrastructure work in terms of cost in the last 8 years, which is, I think we're all experiencing that. So this should be it. This will be the true up, if you would, of the final plan. And we also learned quite a bit about the site, when we originally acquired it. Now that we've had engineers, both environmental and others, working on the site for over 8 years, we've learned a lot about the creek systems, the drainage systems. We've been through a couple of flood events successfully, but we did learn about some additional infrastructure needs in the back where the river interacts with the lake systems. And so there's a number of things that we've identified that we'd like to do. The value looks like it's going to be better than we thought. I think it surprised all of us how well the project's doing. Originally, we thought we'd finish up around $1.8 billion. It looks like we'll be closer to $2.5 billion based on today's values. You might remember this site generated about $300,000 a year in taxes to all the jurisdictions. And thanks to you and the city and their leadership,
When we're done, it'll throw off somewhere between 60 and 70 million a year in taxes to the various jurisdictions that are involved. And those are real estimates. I mean, those are based on values we're achieving today with a minor, maybe 2% escalation. And we're seeing housing.
Anybody down in your area get a 2% increase in their home values this year?
No, sir. It was quite a bit larger than that. Yeah. So we think we've got real solid
They are.
numbers.
They're hiding, and they hadn't told anybody.
I don't think they're hiding. Some of them are talking to the operating district about that. So what I thought I would do is, number one, just say thank you. There's also, with 150 houses under construction and the commercial breaking ground this year, you're with engineers and workers. We've probably got 1,000 workers some way attached to this project on a daily basis now. And that's going to, that's been ongoing for the last 5 years, and we've probably got another 10 years to go. So it's been a good thing. What I thought I'd do is just very briefly run through the way this is set up. It's broken into open space, infrastructure, and parks. These are the projects that are left to complete in the zone. And this is a view of the overall master plan. We are going to wind up with about 1,100 acres in the flood control areas. And we were able to acquire that middle out parcel, which was in the Armored Trout family for about 85 years. That's a major part of the drainage. As you can see, it's right in the heart of Hurricane Creek. And we'll be able to acquire that and control that drainage area as well, which is really important to the long-term maintenance of the flood control areas. These are all the various projects. We won't go through them all in great detail, but just want you to see there are a number of projects left to complete in the zone. We're now up to about 1,500 lots on the ground. Ourselves in the last month, we've been averaging about 10 home sales a week. I mean, it's pretty remarkable what's going on out there. There's regional connectivity. One of the nice aspects of this site is that it regionally connects to both Fort Worth and ultimately to Dallas with its regional trail systems. And we hope someday that Arlington can work out some arrangements with the TRE, and we'll have an opportunity to have a rail site next door, which would help connectivity really for our citizens in Arlington, particularly trying to get to the College District in Fort Worth. It'd be really nice to have rail access for that. These are just the way these slides work, as you know, or can see up in the right-hand corner, a little red dot shows you where the project is, and the budget on the right shows the bucket. If it's in the pit, it's outside of the TERS. So some of these projects are in the overall plan for the area, but they're not necessarily in the district. So you can just get a sense of the type of projects, the restoration areas, the trail connectivity. The wetland restoration for wildlife habitat is working really well. We're lots of ducks and geese and herons and foxes and bobcats, and the wildlife are coming back and growing in the
Not for
area.
hunting, though.
Not for hunting.
Yes.
No, sir. No, sir.
The figures you can't go out there hunting.
I know. There's
Tom with you.
thousands of dove, and we probably had 500 or 600 pelicans this year hang out for a few months. First time we've seen
White
that.
ones? Were they
Big white
big
pelicans.
white ones, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that out there before in those kinds of numbers.
Yeah.
So it's doing what we had hoped it would do. This is an area that we really didn't know much about on Boyd's Branch up in the north, and we're going to preserve this whole area. It's some of the original savanna prairies that were here before this land was turned into gravel pits, and the wildlife folks would like us to protect that, so we're going to preserve this area in particular. Rail issues with sound mitigation and connectivity of regional trails through that area. That will ultimately hopefully get over to what we hope will be a rail access. This is a restoration of the Boyd's Branch to really fix a lot of the erosion issues that have occurred over the years. So we'll get an opportunity to fix that. These are Veridian's the first Audubon Gold signature standard community in the state of Texas, which means that we're really sensitive about how we take that first inch of water that has the pollutants in it and try and filter it as much as we can through wetlands before we put it in the lake system or pipe. So these are those kinds of best management practices on stormwater management that you're seeing in the zone. This is a woodland preserve area that we're not going to develop. This actually connects all the way over to 360. And these are just the regional trail systems that will run through the flood control and drainage areas. So, when it's not acting as a flood reservoir, we can provide some connectivity with regional trails. This trail system is also one that COG's extending up to the Centerport station, which will provide access here next year from Centerport Rail into this regional area. And I know that they're also working with American Airlines to be able to connect those employees into this trail system as well. And again, these are just more storm management, stormwater management areas that also serve as park systems. So these are just some renderings of the various projects that are going on in the zone. There's another rendering of that flood control area when it's finished. This is the Almond Trout area. In the original tours, we had a historical facility that, because of the Birds Fork Treaty, the birthplace of North Texas was here when Texas was a republic. The treaty was signed between the Indian tribes and Colonel Byrd. Sam Houston signed the treaty in the 1843, and Washington on the Brazos. And so plus we've partnered with the Perot Museum. We found dinosaurs on the site, and they've been working on that. And so that'll all go into this interpretive center. So, there are a number of projects. This is a summary of just the open space side. There's a summary as well in your packet for the infrastructure, and then the public improvements that are in the PID that are separate from the TERS. So you've got a comprehensive summary in your package of all the improvements. But that's just a taste of what we're doing. We're grateful that we get to do this work and shepherd this project, and we appreciate your support.
Thank you, Bob.
Any questions? Thank you very much. That's very informative.
Thank you, Bob.
Lisa, what you got? Oh, go ahead. Come on, Bruce.
Excuse me. Judge Whitley, Commissioners, my name is Bruce Payne. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Arlington. Just want to add, I've been working with Mr. Kimball since the inception of the project back in '06 in different capacities with the City of Arlington. It's been a very highly successful project. It's taken land that was extremely difficult to work with and turned it from $10 million of value to $400 of late, which has been an extraordinary accomplishment in the city's view. I don't know that the average individual would have been able to visualize the changes that have been able to be done on the property or in the 157 corridor as a result of this particular project. I did want to advise you that we've been working with him on this particular modification to the TERS since last fall directly. The City Council approved the 5-year extension to the TERS board and the City Council also approved the changes to the project and financing plan, and the City Council has approved the revised developers agreement. So now what does remain are the participation agreements with the various taxing jurisdictions, which is what you will consider in the future. So other than that, I'm here to answer any questions that I can for you, and or I'm available at any time in the future should you have additional thoughts that you'd like to raise.
I'll just say that for over 45 years I've been watching this land. If it rains, you didn't go down there. And now, after several developers, Bob, your group has finally succeeded in making this something that everybody should be very proud of in the way you've done it. The things that you have kept, the things that you have transformed have, I think, now really taken that area and used it to its best use. And not only that, but the way you're using it to bring different people in and different levels in, I think is miraculous. It's a great area now. I'm very excited about driving down in there and seeing what's next.
Yeah, and more importantly, you also give back to the community, and I think that says a lot about your character as a business person and as a developer, and I appreciate you do so authentically, not for personal gain or for the gain of your business. And I've been around Precinct 2 long enough to be able to tell the difference, and I appreciate your sincere interest in the giving back to our community and the unfortunate families who are facing tough circumstances. And that's what makes you special, Bob. Thank you.
Judge, Commissioners, Under the amended project and financing plan, as Bruce mentioned, it will extend the term of the zone from 30 years to 35 years, and it will increase the amount of funding that the TERS plan will be paying for the infrastructure projects. That in turn will raise the county's participation up from $79 million to approximately $90 million over those additional 5 years, and the hospital districts up from the little over $45 million to about $54 million. So as we move forward, we will be working on the amended participation agreement that must come back before you so that you will approve this amended plan and the increase in our maximum contributions. And we should be bringing that back to you at the first part of June.
Now, Lisa, I know we use specific dollar amounts again, so that, so that an addition like this would come before us as opposed to just
Correct.
speed right on by. You said that it was originally at 30, it's now looking at 35 years. Did I hear that?
Correct. It's extending the zone because those first, as Mr. Kimball said, those first few years, there wasn't a lot, there wasn't the amount of increment produced as was originally anticipated.
But is it on our part anticipated that it will actually be 35 years? Or I know in many of the things, we've paid that off, paid our specific dollar amount off early.
Right now, it's anticipated it will be the full 35 years, but as
values
go up, yeah. And one of the things is it will also include a max. The city of Arlington has also put in that when their increment reaches a total of $230 million, the zone ends. So that's another caveat.
There's
so
a
it'll be
sales
several
tax
different.
yes,
there will be several different keys that could end our participation. If the city of Arlington reaches that maximum, we'll be out too. Ours comes first, or the zone ends.
Okay.
It'll be three different things.
Okay. When are we going to take action?
It'll be the first part of June.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bruce.
Finally, members of court, we have the legislative updates. Mr. Mendez has included a memorandum for you all to review. There's one update to that, and the big one we're watching is Senate Bill 2, which is the revenue cap issue. It came out of the House committee, and they stripped all the revenue issues out of it and made it more of an appraisal improvement. But we believe that as soon as it gets to the House floor, that the revenue issues will again be added to that bill. So we don't know.
The Senate floor?
No, the House floor.
House floor.
Yes, sir. And then it'll go to conference.
So that was one of the big discussions last week when it was to be heard. There was 3 rooms full of people down there to speak. The chairman was very upset and treated several of the initial witnesses pretty rudely. I got a quote from Fred Hill right before we came in here, and he said yesterday, and apparently the chairman of House Ways and Means, which is where this committee went, Dennis Bonnen, made this quote to a reporter from the San Antonio paper. The cities and counties refuse to accept our version of Senate Bill 2, so I look forward to working with the governor and lieutenant governor to shove it down their throats in a special session.
And where is he from?
South, I think, down around Houston area, down around the Houston area. Maybe Montgomery in that particular area, I believe. But that's his reconciling quote.
Yeah. And by the way, just as it relates to that, the budget that the House and the Senate are looking at increases property taxes to the local taxpayer by $2.5 billion, so that local taxpayers have the ability to fund public schools. And the legislature, as one put it, will simply top off whatever else is needed. So there's your property tax relief.
Yeah, and they're anticipating about an 8% increase in the school property taxes per year for the next 2 years. That's what's anticipated in the Senate's budget. So with that, is that it?
That's all we have, Your Honor.
Then we will recess our open meeting, proceed to close to discuss items exempted under Section 5. Formally announced to you this morning or last night or sometime. Judge Minikos. Yep. I understand that concept.
He's retiring like after 2 years?
No, he's going to finish his term.
He's going to finish his term, and then he will not seek re-election.
Having returned from our closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we adjourn.
Wow.
It really is.
He goes to everything, like he's kind of